Okay, I'm just going to spend some time. When we think of someone completing a survey, it's we tend to focus on the structure of our questions, which is critically important. But what we also need to focus on is, and it's really important, is what are we asking the person to do? And from that perspective, I'm going to talk about cognitive load and how that relates to what's referred to as status spicing, or basically someone taking shortcuts when they complete the survey or complete a survey, and they don't really commit a full effort to reading the question, reading the item, interpreting the item, searching memory to formulate a response, and then responding. And one of the issues when it comes to cognitive load is how you word the survey items. So, for example, you should use simple, familiar words. So, just like in your lit review, avoid jargon. Use a simple syntax, and I'll show an example in a bit. Avoid words with ambiguous meanings. So, aim for words that are kind of like written at a level in terms of writing complexity that will match the or will be easily interpreted by your respondents. So if your respondents are your typical person out there in the world, you're not going to write it in a very sophisticated or very wordy way using a lot of low-frequency words. So you strive for wording that is specific and concrete. Make response options exhaustive and mutually exclusive. So you want to make sure your response options are A, a complete list, and B, they're separate from each other, which is relatively straightforward when you're thinking of a Likert item. And Likert, what I mean is having people respond on a point scale, from strongly disagree to strongly agree, very dissatisfied to very satisfied, very unlikely to very likely. Avoid leading or loaded questions that push respondents towards an answer, and ask about one thing at a time. And we'll get into the technical sides of some of the pitfalls to avoid in creating a survey. So, when you think of it, and this is important, when you ask a person a question or ask them to respond to a statement, you got to think about what that person is actually doing. So the first thing they have to do is they have to interpret the question and deduce its intent. So they got to understand what you're asking. So they have to do that, read it and comprehend it. Then they'll have to typically look up the search memory for relevant information. So I don't know. I would say something like say for just a stupid question. In the past month, how many times have you visited McDonald's? Or let's say how many times the last week, how many times have you gone to Tim Hortons, so you're a coffee drinker? You understand the question, then you got to search memory for how often did I go to Tim Hortons this week? And then you got to sometimes you got to construct it. I usually go every morning, I drive through this, and then there's a couple times in the evening I've gotten a sandwich or a coffee or something. And then integrate the information, and then make a judgment. And then you maybe ask, in terms of how many times did you go to Tim Hortons in the last week? It may be like a group frequency type question. None, less than 5 times, between 6 and 10 times, 11 and 15. So when you structure the question like that, you place less cognitive demand on the person because you're putting them to answer the question in a bucket in a sense, like just in terms of a group frequency type question. So then they create a response. So optimizing, respondent who performs necessary tasks in a thorough, that should be thorough and unbiased manner. Okay. So cognitive steps, first goes cognitive effort, assess meaning, search memory, evaluate, and then select a response. Okay. So cognitive effort. Where did that come up? I had you do this one survey, the survey example, and it was on satisfaction with your experience so far, let's say Georgian College. And what you'll see, half the group, which were the people from last surnames A to L, a lot of the questions were written in the negative form. So I am not satisfied. So then you got to kind of like it's in the negative form, and then you got to kind of like think about, well, I'm not satisfied. Strongly agree. If you say strongly agree, I'm not satisfied. So there's a bit of a cognitive load here in terms of the demand because the questions are negative. And I flipped some of the questions around. And there's a research article that I posted that says sometimes it's not necessarily a good idea to start flipping them. So there's not satisfieds. My instructors do not show. And then I am satisfied. And because I am satisfied, I might strongly agree with that. So the argument is that this has a greater cognitive demand on you because you're because of the negative structure of the question. Many of the items, they're negatives, so you have to flip it around in terms of the level of satisfaction, and it bounces. It goes from negatives, I'm not satisfied, to I am satisfied. And then I don't know if this is going to work. And then there was a question at the end of, in terms of the amount of thought you put into responding to each item, on average, how demanding did you find the survey? So I kind of like asked that as a metric because the point of comparison was the other half of the students who received the question, and everything was always in a positive. I am satisfied, my instructors show concern, I am satisfied, my institution effectively transmits. So they're all straight line. You're just saying agreement to your level of satisfaction. You're not making an agreement statement to your level of dissatisfaction. And the argument then was that when there's no flipping, they're all positive. So in terms of cognitive demand, this survey should have been, in terms of the amount of thought you put into it, it should have been a lot easier, and you would have been able to think more of the questions. So what happens here is you want it here. I've written it in a relatively straightforward manner, easy to understand language, and and I don't have going between the positives and negatives. And meaning positive is I am satisfied. Negatives respond to an item that says I am not satisfied. Whereas with the example here, it's looking at flipping it. A lot of I am not satisfied negatives, and then flipping it to positives. Greater cognitive demand, which may mean, because it's more demanding, you can't efficiently or effectively and optimally think about your kind of like formulating a response. So once the cognitive demand gets higher, you are forcing people to respond in a non-optimal manner. And that's referred to as satisficing. So if everything is done right, and the person should be motivated to complete the survey. They can be motivated for a number of reasons. They do self-expression. They get to kind of talk about themselves. It's an interpersonal response in terms of if it's like an intercept survey face-to-face and you're talking to the person. They may find it intellectually challenging. They may get some further self-understanding. Altruism, they want to help. Maybe it's a good cause that they support. Emotional catharsis, they may feel, they just feel better to kind of like talk about something. It could be something in terms of some issue, spending habits. If it's a survey on issues that they may substance abuse issues, catharsis in terms of the survey on just how people are feeling about COVID. It just allows them to kind of get it out. And desire to assist the survey sponsor. Satisficing occurs when the cognitive load gets high. People may take shortcuts in deciding how to respond to a survey. So this could be basically biased or incomplete retrieval of information from memory. So if I have a lot of negatives and then flipped in with positives, and this survey was short. If it's a lot longer and you're doing that, you'll start to get kind of like exhausted. You're going to get cognitively, mentally exhausted. And then what happens is people start to just use algorithms or strategies, and pick they'll just flippantly go pick the first reasonable answer. Oh, so that looks good. They may not necessarily fully believe it or think it reflects them, but it's got a reasonableness feel to it. They can pick I don't knows, and they can pick what they think others will say. So what happens is people start taking shortcuts and responding to a survey because they find the survey either cognitively too demanding or they really don't have interest, right? So these motivation factors on the previous slide just don't pertain to them. So weak satisficing is an agreement to participate, is motivated by a sense to comply with the request.